Hey, Sens fans, welcome to Season 3, Episode 21 of the Senstennial Podcast. This week, we've got a lot of covers, so we're going to jump into it right away. And Bennett's actually going to kick us off because we want to just say a little message about Eugene Melnyk, and Bennett prepared something for us here today.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. Sens owner Eugene Melnyk passed away a week ago on March 28th at the age of 62 following a long illness. Obviously, this has been a significant event for a lot of Senators fans and has caused considerable speculation about the future direction of the team. First and foremost, however, our thoughts go out to Melnyk's friends and family. In particular, I've been thinking a lot about Melnyk's two children who are young enough they shouldn't have to be dealing with the loss of a parent. Melnyk leaves a complicated legacy here in Ottawa. Although responsible for saving the team from bankruptcy and the threat of relocation when he purchased the Senators in 2003, in recent years, the relationship with fans, local media, and the city of Ottawa have been strained. The fond memories of a prolonged period of success in the mid-2000s, including an appearance in the 2007 Stanley Cup Final and an unexpected run to the Eastern Conference Final in 2017, were separated by periods of mediocrity and listlessness. The small budget constraints placed on the team as a result of Melnyk's personal financial troubles created an atmosphere of apathy and malaise. Many Sens fans checked out, and in recent years, we've seen attendance at games dwindle as the team on the ice has struggled. The relationship with fans soured as more star players were traded rather than re-signed, which led to the Melnyk out slogans, which Melnyk responded to in kind with disparaging remarks of his own. This created a situation where, positive initiatives like an outdoor game at TD Place in 2017 or the prospect of a new downtown arena were likewise marked by Melnyk's battles with both fans and the city. The result is that Melnyk was simultaneously the savior of the Ottawa Senators, as well as, for many fans, I think it's fair to say, the team's biggest liability. In spite of these difficulties, Melnyk's final years saw some positive steps for both the team and his image. An exciting young core of players have inspired hope for many Sens fans, even as questions about the long-term prospects of a budget team remained. Off the ice, Melnyk put the Canadian Tire Centre at the disposal of Ottawa Public Health to help the city deal with the COVID-19 pandemic, and many thousands of Ottawa residents, including myself, received one of their vaccine doses there. He also purchased food for frontline hospital workers in Ottawa at the beginning of the pandemic in April of 2020. Melnyk's idea to enlist the help of the late Alex Trebek to draft future star Tim Stutzle in memorable fashion in the 2020 NHL draft was another recent high point. And most recently, Melnyk's strong support for the people of Ukraine and for the Ukrainian Canadian community, of which he was a part, following the Russian invasion in February of 2022, which included donating proceeds from 50-50 draws towards charitable causes in the country, has been another positive step. And lastly, rumors about the Sens are once again bidding for a new arena at Le Breton Flats on the west side of downtown Ottawa. I think it's nice that after over a decade of tumultuous times as Sens owner, that in his last years, Melnyk was able to create some positive storylines to leave us all with. My final thought that I wish to share is that for all his bombast and tacky press conferences, Melnyk believed in this team, and perhaps most importantly, he believed in this city. In the early 2000s, it wasn't clear whether the Senators had a future here in Ottawa. Well, today the team looks to be here for good. For Senators fans, that's likely to be Melnyk's most lasting legacy, that the team is here at all. And if in the wake of his passing, the team can secure a deal on a downtown arena, then perhaps those years of unparalleled success aren't that far off at all. And until then, I'll be thinking of Melnyk's friends and family and hoping that he's found peace.
Thanks, Bennett. I think that was really well said. And I think it also is really fair to his legacy and to how fans see him and everybody else. And, it is too bad that that family had to suffer his passing at an earlier than expected age. But it also leaves questions about the future with the team. I guess everybody wanted the team to be sold to a more financially stable owner, but nobody wanted it to happen this way. So now it brings questions of, okay, this is unexpected. Maybe the family and the estate knew that this was coming, but ultimately, from a fan standpoint, I think people could have assumed something was up with his lack of appearances in the public, but I don't think anyone expected that it was this grave. So I'll kind of flip the question to either of you. But do you see his daughters taking on the team going forward? Do you see the sale of the team going to an outside owner? Do the daughters become a minority stakeholder? Either one of you, what do you think happens with the team going forward?
I think first and foremost, we don't know, and nobody knows at this point. There's so much that needs to happen with Melnyk's estate, and with lawyers, and with everything else that it's tough to say at this point where exactly things are heading. We know from repeated sources that Melnyk wanted this team to go to his daughters. He wanted it to stay in the family, as it were. But again, when you pass away at 62 and your daughters are in their early 20s, still in school in some cases, that creates a different challenge. And we also know that there are outstanding liabilities that the team is responsible for, and that's going to play into it as well. I've heard Ian Mendes speak about this, and him in turn talking to people within the organization who have nothing but good things to say about Melnyk's daughters, who by all accounts are bright and interested in the team and in the hockey world and everything like that. But there's a big step between having an interest in it and doing some internships at what is essentially your dad's company, and running it outright, and which is not like a statement whatsoever about their capacity to do so, but more so their desire. And especially with the complexities, and when you're dealing with an unexpected loss of yourself, I think there's a very real possibility that Anna and Olivia, I think their names are, might be interested in selling the team, and we know that there are consortiums in the city that want to purchase it. But ultimately, that's going to be a decision that them and their lawyers and advisors and whoever is at the table are going to have to figure out. And for now, we can all pretty much just wait and see.
Yeah, I can't say it any better than Bennett did. I would probably say that ultimately it comes down to somebody who actually has consistent money in, money out. With the Melnyks, they're kids. They're not much. We're not much older than they are. I still consider myself a kid at some point, and I can't imagine being given having an NHL team that's worth $500 million thrust upon me, and then expected to be paying the expenses of that team. You look at the salary cap, you look at the operational budget that's going to be required. That's going to be touching, about $90 million. Bennett had a good point about the liabilities that the team already has. There are debts to be paid on this team. And when it comes down to it, I don't think that's there. So you brought up the minority stake in the team. That's what, in my opinion, what it's going to look like. The Melnyks keep a smaller share from 40% down to 10%, and they find somebody who's got the dollars and cents that's going to be able to cover an NHL franchise for as long as they own it. It comes down to needing lots and lots of money, and that owner being able to pay whatever it takes to bolster the team. And it also comes down to what the NHL is willing to accept as an offer. We've heard from a few sources, one of them being Elliot Friedman, that the NHL isn't going to take anything less than $750 million for a franchise. I think Forbes listed it, the Sens value, at maybe 500. That downtown arena obviously changes things, but who's going to be paying for that? Is it going to be a publicly funded arena? Because I know the city hasn't been completely interested in doing that. And if that's the case, then you need an owner that's going to be able to fund that. There are a lot of factors that go into this sale, but the ultimate, nail in the coffin here is that the Sens aren't moving at all. Those Quebec rumors that were floating around that they wanted to have a joint bid were the 5 games in Quebec City. It was apparently a bidder that wanted to, get in on the Sens sort of thing. There's no need to worry about the Senators moving. You look at, the willingness to keep Arizona in Arizona. They kept Atlanta in Atlanta for as long as they possibly could. And when it comes down to it for the NHL, is there a desire for hockey in this city? The Senators have been at probably 50% capacity this season. That's still enough of a desire where the NHL can look at it, see it as feasible, and that's it.
And also, let's not forget, I know the game against the Florida Panthers, there were free tickets given away, and that's probably why the crowd was over 17,000. But I was at the game versus Detroit, which I don't believe was part of the buy one, get one free deal for the tickets. And there were over 16,000 people at that game. And that was pretty good atmosphere, all things considered. But I think there's definitely potential. And this is for a team that's sixth last in the NHL right now. If in the next couple of seasons they start really winning hockey games, and let's just say next season they end up with 35 wins, I think you're going to see this building. It'll start to get creeping closer to not full capacity, but I think to a number that is more than acceptable for a team that is hopefully on the cusp of leaving a rebuild.
Well, the beautiful thing is just that they're leaving the rebuild. They have the key pieces in place now. That obviously the next upcoming draft will be that last piece of the puzzle, but then it's just finagling areas of your roster that are centered around your Tim Stutzles, your Brady Tkachuk's, your Drake Bathsons, Josh Norris's, the list goes on. That to me is that's an appreciating value on a asset. And the Senators are only going to get better from here. And with a new owner, with new money and lots of it, that changes things. And it's unfortunate that Melnyk passed. And I really, really feel for his family, because losing somebody at that age is not easy. And, when you did see him on TV, he looked sickly. And that sucks, because it was drawn out, and it doesn't get easier for anybody. And ultimately, when it comes down to it, I'm just really sorry for his family. That sucks.
Yeah, no, definitely. And that's why it's hard to talk about relocation within the city. And the sale of the team and what happens next. And, something we didn't even touch on, but, future spending of the team. How does that change? How does management, coaching change? There's a lot you can talk about, because this really does affect the entire franchise. And so it's harder to talk about these things, but I think that we kind of need to, because sadly the business side of things does go on, and we need to accept that. And with that being said, you brought up that the team wouldn't move out of Ottawa, but if they did move within Ottawa and needed a new arena, who would put the money forward for that? And I remember back in, it was, I believe, 2017, when there was the Rendezvous Le Breton, which I believe was Melnyk's proposal. And then there was the DevCore proposal. In that DevCore proposal, they were willing to build an arena without the guarantee that the Senators would come with it. So I think that's important. There were, if we think about the rumor that there's at least 4 bidders interested, if even one of those bidders is we'll put the money forward for the arena, then I'm pretty sure the city would accept that. If Eugene Melnyk's daughters were willing to sell a portion or all of the team, I'm pretty sure that the money you would make back on the team being in a central location would probably outweigh the initial cost over time. I'm not sure economically how long that would take, but I do think that it would be a lot more feasible.
Somebody on Twitter made a really excellent point, and I just can't remember who it was. And they had said, I live in Toronto, and there were days where I was walking back home and I didn't have anything to do. So I just walked up to the box office, got a ticket, and went to see, the Leafs or the Raptors. Like, that downtown walking traffic would be huge because there's transit right up to it. That's exceptional. And when all of this was going down, 5 years ago, everybody was super excited because that's what it meant. Like, that we were no longer going to be the laughing stock of the league because we, couldn't fill our building, which, oh my God, we were still at 100% capacity. We just have more than 100% capacity. Like, there's numbers and all that stuff.
Also, if we want to talk about the playoffs, because everyone loves to bring that up in the 2017 playoffs, I think if people realized how much of the city is employed by the federal government and how you cannot accept gifts of any kind if you're a federal employee. Yeah. So the main employer in the city, you're not allowed to accept tickets. If you go to Toronto, they've got tons of businesses that could give out tickets. There's such a large city. Montreal, very business oriented as well. So in Ottawa, it's totally different. And beyond just that, beyond the target audience and not being able to accept gifts, we have to remember that the Phoenix pay system was abysmal. And that was like right in the center part of when all those issues were going down. And it took so long to have that corrected. And I knew friends who, some of them, they would go, a month without getting a paycheck. And then all of a sudden they would be paid like 2 months pay. And then they'd have to pay some back. And so there was so much financial uncertainty with so many people that I think the fact that the Sens still had, I think 17, 18,000 people where they weren't full capacity against the Rangers, like, that's actually not bad considering how many people's paychecks were just so uncertain at the time. And I know for myself,
we also have, like, our capacity is, I think, top 3 in the league. Like, we can get 20,000 people in the building.
It is pretty large. I believe the Bell Center is the biggest with like over 21,000, but that's besides the point. I mean, for me at the time, I would have bought tickets to every single game, but I was a student, so there was no way in hell I was able to afford that.
Reach.
But anyway, I think we're kind of getting a little sidetracked. But Bennett,
you can tell it's a sore subject for us.
Hey, I actually called into TSN 1200 back in 2017 when after the arena plans fell through. I think that was still 2017.
Yeah. 2017 was a long year in like Sensdom.
Yeah.
It was like the year that we had to run to the Eastern Conference Final, and then like the year where the wheels just came off, and it was like the Duchesne trade, and then like all of the Hoffman Carlson drama, and then all of like
the moving thing,
the
like
moving and like the outdoor game where it's like Melnyk had those comments, and it was just like 2017 was a long year for Sens fans.
Yeah, so I remember calling into the drive, and at the time it was Ian Mendez and Sean Simpson on the drive. And anyway, I remember calling in, and I went on a rant, and honestly, now I can't even think of what I said. I'm pretty sure I just said I was extremely disappointed as a young fan. I wanted to see the team be downtown, and I was thinking how exciting it would be to take transit with some friends, grab a drink, go to a game, all that stuff. And afterwards, I don't think I even said thanks to the guys for accepting my call. Like, I felt bad because I'd gone on a tangent, so I just kind of ended it off and just said, anyway, like, that's my bit. And afterwards, Ian said that's a young fan, and you can tell how frustrated they are, and how important a downtown arena is. And so hopefully we do get that at some point in the future. I think that would be huge. I guess it just remains to be seen. That's really all we can say on that one. But I guess we can move beyond that. We have some more drama that we need to get to. And it starts with the game against the Montreal Canadiens the other night. So Ottawa has lost 2 of the 4 meetings. Sorry, I guess 2 of 2 meetings that they'd had across the season. There will be 4 meetings. But anyway, so they had lost the first 2 meetings against the Habs. They go into this meeting, and I think there was a bit of nastiness in the air. I think the Sens really wanted to win against the Habs. The Habs have been playing above 500 hockey with Martin St. Louis as coach. And so I think there's a bit of bite to the game, And anyway, game ends up being 6-3, but that wasn't the talk of the town. No. It was afterwards when Gallagher had some comments about Tim Stutzle embarrassing the game by lying on the ice and then getting back and playing on the power play the following shift, and how young players look at these guys as role models, and how Stutzle's a really good player, but he needs to cut this out because it's embarrassing. And I think with Gallagher's history and
pot calling the kettle black
and the fact that, yes, Stutzle has sometimes gone down easy, but in the game that they played that night, there was no going down easy by Stutzle. Like, the knee from Suzuki was a legitimate, probably Charlie horse, which is why Stutzle looked like he was in so much pain. And I'm not sure what else Gallagher was quoting, but anyway, I'll let Bennett jump in. He's been sitting there patiently.
Yeah, it's really off-putting to see comments like that. Hockey is a very physical sport. Guys get injured every game pretty much. Even whether you consider an injury, just be like a knock or your muscle hurts or something. It's like every shift these guys are coming off with something because it's such a physical sport. And that's what a lot of people like about the game. But I think that it also creates this atmosphere of this kind of like really annoying, like, I don't know if you can call it like a macho thing where it's like players, guys like Gallagher or other players of his sort of like, I don't know, personality, or I don't know how you would describe it. They think they value toughness and, all of this stuff. And it's like they see guys going down when they're hurt instead of like playing through it, and it makes them mad and they think it's like a bad thing. But I don't know, like I play sports too. And it's like, if I'm hurt, I go down because it hurts. And, I'm not a professional player, and maybe you can make the argument that they're supposed to play through stuff like that, but they're also people. And if someone hits you knee on knee and it hurts, you're going to go down. And especially because if you don't know how bad it is, and, maybe it takes you a while to get up and then you skate around a bit, it's like, okay, I think I'm okay. It was scary because I took this hit and now I'm in pain and I don't know how bad it is. But if it feels better in a few minutes, of course you're going to go and continue playing because you are a professional. And it's just like this fixation that so many guys have with, the need to, and you see it in the playoffs a lot too. Like, it's like guys, are almost kind of like expected to play through injuries, and then it, the result is that like they end up damaging, their bodies long term. And it's just like, it's a really dumb attitude. And
it reminds me of all of the memes that are like LeBron James left the game with an ouchie, but Patrice Bergeron, he played through the Stanley Cup Finals with a punctured lung and a broken rib.
Was it Bergeron?
It was
Bergeron.
Okay, I thought it was a Bruin who played through that. They were like a penalty kill and they were on the ice for a minute and a half and they had punctured their lung maybe like 15 seconds into that play.
Yeah, it's just,
it's like some people get off on shit like that, but like to me, it's just like, what are you trying to prove? Like,
your life is worth more than that.
Physio.
Like you could die, man. But this is the thing that's so frustrating because going back to Brendan Gallagher, it really is like pot calling the kettle black because the guy was a notorious diver. And he's a scummy player. He gets underneath people's skin.
I like to think that sorry to interrupt, but I kind of, what I thought was a good analogy that I heard today was he's not like a rat like people would call Brad Marchand, but he's a weasel, like he's one of those guys.
He even looks like a weasel too. Like Brad looks like a rat. Brendan looks like a weasel.
It all makes sense. But yeah, like he gets under your skin, but he's also not that good of a player. Like he has 6 goals this season.
No, he fell off drastically. Like,
yeah,
his best season was 54 points. I pulled them up, and I believe, going to your 6 points or 6 goals this season, from what I understand, before last night, none of them were even strength.
Let me look it up for you.
I remember hearing that the last game we played against the Habs. But I don't think it's a good place to air out your grievances. And, we chatted about this earlier, how, Tkachuk did it to Brendan Lemieux, but they're two inherently different things. One is your perception of how a player should be playing. And the other is like, the guy was gross and bit my hand. Like, that's the weirdest thing you could possibly do, other than, lick somebody, and, goes back to Mr. Rat Boy. But like Stutzle, yes, he falls. He's not as strong on his skates as I would hope he would be. Yeah. But at the same time, he dummied you. He dummied you guys. You jumped him in the scrum, and you end up on your back. Yeah. Like, you don't have much of a leg to stand on. And it just doesn't help that the guy is trash now. And it also reminded me, I was like, no, it's kind of karma. Like, it's late karma that, you got your house broken into after losing the Stanley Cup.
Whoa, damn.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, I'm not trying to be rude today, or anything, damn. But like fuck Brendan Gallagher. The guy sucks. So
yeah. So I looked it up. Of his 6 goals, 2 are even strength.
Oh, that must have changed recently, but yeah.
But out of his 10 assists on the season, 1 of them's on the power play. So he's an even strength assist guy, just not a goal scorer. But yeah. So I think next on the docket here, we're going to talk about Josh Norris hitting 30 goals on the season. Oh no, what'd you do? So Bennett here has sent a lovely image to our group chat with the Wikipedia page of the Montreal Canadiens, which has probably since been fixed, but Tim Stutzle listed as the majority owner of the Montreal Canadiens, just so you know, everybody, and that's also the chairman. But yeah, we'll talk about Josh Norris hitting 30. So I was fortunate enough to be at that game, way too far away to be able to get a hat down there. Okay. I was up in the nose, but I actually had to move sections. The children behind us were kicking our chairs and actually kicking my friends back directly.
What do you do in that scenario? Do you just like move to a place that you clearly see nobody is there, or do you like talk to an usher?
No. I didn't want to ruin the kids' day and the parents, I didn't want to ruin their day. As morbid as the situation was, and solemn, I guess is the better word. And they were showing the Eugene Melnyk montage. This little girl behind me, she, with each new picture of Eugene Melnyk that came up on the Jumbotron, she would ask her mom, "Did that man die too?" And I was like,
boy,
I had to keep a straight face because I was like, oh my god, because it was so quiet, right? So this kid is saying this, and I'm like, everyone around us can hear this, and the mom's just like, it's the same guy, honey. Shh. I was like, oh man. Anyway, besides the point, Josh Norris gets 30 goals. They beat the Detroit Red Wings back-to-back 5-2 victories. And wow, what a player Josh Norris has turned out to be. And I'm sure you guys remember this, but when Pierre Dorion made that Erik Karlsson trade, they had initially said that they could see Josh Norris being a very solid third line guy, maybe some second line upside. maybe some second line upside.
Woof.
This guy's a stud. He has 30 goals on the season, 15 assists, 45 points, and I believe like under 60 games, which is incredible for a sophomore player. I don't know. I'm kind of blown away, but he's due for a contract this summer. And so, yeah, what did you guys think about him? And what do you think he really projects out as? Like, is he going to be that goal scoring phenom or what do you think?
At this point, he looks like he's good for 40 every year. Like
every year, eh?
Yeah. He's an efficient goal scorer. He doesn't get into dirty areas. And he has a bit of an office like Ovechkin or Stamkos, and he scores a lot on the power play. And I think there's a lot of value to that. He was having a bit of a Cy Young season for a bit there when it was just, I think, like 30 goals and 10 assists or something like that. And it would be hilarious if you got 40 goals and only had like 15 assists. You're still only like a 55-point player.
Yeah.
But I think Josh Norris has proven to be a excellent defensive player, but now he's showcasing his ability to actually score and put up legit numbers for the Ottawa Senators. So
yeah.
Now the question is, how much bucks do we owe him?
A lot of bucks, to be honest.
Yeah. I listened to the game, to yesterday's game against the Habs on TSN 1200. Because my wife and I were assembling furniture, and they had Darren Drager on the pre-game show, and he was speculating about a Josh Norris contract, and he said that a good comparison would be the one that Nick Suzuki signed with the Habs, which is 8 years at a AAV of 7.875, so basically a hair shy of 8x8. I think that could be a slight overpayment, but I think that, being Senators being what they are, that would be very on brand for a slight overpayment. I don't think
also, I think kind of necessary for the market,
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I think in this market, it is kind of necessary to overpay for talent. So I don't think in 8x8, would he be worth that? No, but like Brady isn't worth his contract either. That's kind of neither here nor there. So
Bennett always has to throw a jab in against Brady Tkachuk every day. I
do. Yeah. I just want the best for my boy. I want to see him be his best self. And on Norris, 30 goals. It's a big achievement. It's a huge deal. I was at that game too. It was the first time an Ottawa Senator has hit the 30 goal mark since the 2011-12 season. And who are the two guys that scored 30 that year?
Spets and McCulloch, baby.
There it is. That's right. So yeah, it's been 11 seasons since we've had a 30-goal guy on the team. So that's awesome, and it's good for him. It's a big milestone. It's great for him to hit it at this early stage in his career. He does have a 21.6% shooting percentage right now, which is a little high, which means that while he's on pace for in a normal season, if he didn't lose time to injury this year, he might have hit over 40 goals. I think next season, it'd be tough for him to maintain that shooting percentage, but I think being good for 30 a year, even that would be a huge asset to this organization. And having his one-timer on the power play is a huge weapon, something that the Sens, desperately lacked when he was out of the lineup. You watched it. Our power play looks good with Josh Norris on his game, on that first unit, hitting those one-timers. And without him there, we pose very little threat on the power play. So he's such an important player for there. I still think he's a little underqualified as a bona fide first-line center. But, I think if he keeps just at center, he has a higher ceiling, and eventually, we might see, it be those two kind of switch. But it's also a case of 1A, 1B, at a certain point, that what line is what doesn't matter too much. As long as you have two very good centers in your top six, you're kind of okay.
I think they call that a good problem to have.
Yes, yeah. If you can't decide who is supposed to be your one center, and it's not because you don't have one, it's because there could be two possible guys. That's a good thing. Yeah, that's not a problem.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really have anything else to add. That was pretty well said. I think that it's really nice that the Sens have a guy who's a trigger man. Now, if they could get one of those for Tim Stutzle, that would be even better.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
We'll move on to the last topic of the evening, and it's about Mathieu Joseph. And to the Francophone or bilingual listeners, hopefully you can let me know how good or bad that was.
I think that was pretty good.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
So for the sake of not embarrassing myself, I'll say Joseph, but he's played 7 games with the Sens so far, and he has 10 points, 3 goals, 7 assists. And I just want to point out that of those 10, or having those 10 points, 7 games is impressive. But then when you realize that he is starting 73% of his shifts in the defensive zone, that is even wilder to me. Like, he's put up that many points. He starts his own end. That means when he is going on rushes or leading the rushes, what have you, that means they're converting or getting zone time that leads to points while he's on the ice, starting in their own end. I think that alone is great. And I know the sample size is small. I totally get that. But he has been quite electrifying since coming over in that Nick Paul trade. I was pretty happily surprised with it at the time, but I'm very excited about it now and what that could translate to in the future. So, other Matt, did you have any comments on that?
I look at this as a bit of a tryout. 13 games left. Tryout as a top 6 winger. See if you fit, if you stick. We only have to go find one. So he's so far been quite successful, and I hope he can continue to do so, and we can get him locked up, and then we only have to go get one top 6 winger.
You know, that would be nice. And he only just turned 25 in February. So he's got room to grow. You never know. You never know.
It's a good problem to have.
100%. Yeah, I don't know if anyone wanted to touch on anything else about Joseph, but I mean, yeah, I don't know what to say. Like, the sample size is small, but he's just an exciting player. He can dish the puck really well. He's looked good playing with Tkachuk and Norris. And I just want to kind of see how he finishes out the last 11 games of the season. Sorry, 13. Okay.
13, yeah.
Yeah. This guy keeps muting himself. All right. So with that, we'll wrap up the show. Thank you so much to everybody who's watching, listening. It kind of flew by. I guess we really went all in on the first segment of the show. So thank you so much. You can find all our socials on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff. We have a Linktree, so you can click on that, find us on YouTube and wherever else our podcast is. So thank you so much for listening or watching. We appreciate it, and we'll catch you next week where we may have a special guest for you. Go Sens, go.
I really hope so.
Go Sens, go.
Go Sens, go.